Welcome back, everybody. Hope you stocked up because it could be a long one today. I know I keep saying it, but man, all these games have just been going so long. It's been crazy. When was the last time, like, that was 4 Fire Giants in that game before it took an end? I mean, it was... When was the last time you saw 4 Fire Giants in a game ever before these relegations have been? It's been a lot of fun to watch.
It's been a lot of interesting aspects considering all the team fights have really just been occurring on these Fire Giant and Gold Fury objectives, and whether or not a team can secure it has really been leading up to how long these engagements and team fights just need to go.
Well, let's see how this one goes. AI versus a Mighty Storm. Let's take a look at the schedule so you can see what you've got going on the rest of the day. Already had Gatekeepers and Flashpoint. The Challenger Cup team end up upsetting the SPL team, but the Challenger Cup team has SPL in their name, so I don't know what to really say about that. AI versus Kapow, a.k.a. a Mighty Storm. Kapow, their in-game clan tags, so that's why you might see that confusion. This team, AI, has a couple changes coming in. I mean, Incon coming into this team into the support role, which is, I know, exciting a lot of fans at home. You've still got Elchapo in the jungle, but Whalrus in solo lane. You've got T-Money in mid, and then XenoTronics in that hunter role. This could be a really potent team, Taco.
A couple of familiar faces as well, and I think the real factor to look at here is how that new mid lane synergy is going to work out with Chapo. Team Money is kind of got a little bit of a different godfall. I mean, most people like to call him Skadi 313,
sure,
but he is notoriously pretty solid with his mechanics, and all around, this could be a very solid roster.
I mean, this is a team with a ton of experience on it, whether it's Incon, who's been around since the very beginning, Chapo has been there for a long time, Whalrus as well. Can they teach guys like T-Money how to play at a top level? Don't have to wait much longer to answer that. Picks and bans ready to go between AI and a Mighty Storm. And now this roster for a Mighty Storm has a lot of names that you may recognize but haven't been there, done that quite yet. Guys like Ghost, guys like Uzzy, who have played right on the cusp or been subs or been low-tier SPL players, but haven't really won anything quite yet.
There's certainly a team, though, that could... not easily, but they could easily upset people and kind of catch them off guard. And I think that's really the big thing for AI to keep a lookout for. Is sure, they had the experience, probably a little bit more in comparison to Kapow, or Mighty Storm. But either way, it's just interesting all around, really seeing how these two different playstyles could eventually pan out.
Skadi, the first pick here, worked out pretty well for a day to remember and the rest of the Gatekeepers, and AI immediately go for the Raw. So Skadi first pick because A, Skadi's really strong right now, but B, because T-Money's on the other team. And so AI immediately pick up something else ready to go and could call in the next pick for AI.
I'm actually really glad to see AI opting for the Raw and checking out that Odin ban. It's not just an Odin ban so that they could pick up the Raw, but Uzzy has also just kind of been favoring. He loves this pick. I mean, maybe it's a little bit of a hint from his box days, but either way, he is definitely a fairly strong soul laner on that god.
Without a doubt. Odin, one of Uzzy's signature gods, and it really fits well with what the meta is right now. So smart bans out of AI, and that's what you expect whenever you've got a forward teammate on the other side. Chapo and Uzzy teammates for a very, very long time. Batz and Chronos, the 2 picks for Kapow, a.k.a. a Mighty Storm. I'm going to get really sick of saying that. And then Athena, the selection for Incon. Look, when Incon, you're talking about Incon support, you have to think of Athena as one of his top gods.
And when you think about Incon's history as well, the times where he's found the most success with his teams has been when he's been in that support role. So having that set up, especially for the Raw, and could call in for the Peel just in case they need another form, since Incon will most likely be looking for the primary engage on the Athena. Although a Mighty Storm has a lot of damage between Chronos and Skadi, mix that in with a Batz ultimate, and things get a little spicy.
Very, they're not lacking damage at all, no doubt about that. A couple support bans by AI, Fafnir and Geb. On the other side, a Mighty Storm, they ban away a couple jungler gods, Awilish and Thor. Ram, the pick for AI, that's going to go to XenoTronics, their hunter. And then a Mighty Storm goes for the Nike, a god that not a lot of solo laners or could be support, I suppose. We'll have to wait and see. No, it is going to be solo. It's Ganesha certain to go to the support there. Nike, a god that we don't see a lot of, but I think is really under the radar in terms of top-tier gods.
One of the issues that players seem to have with Nike is that she doesn't necessarily have the greatest laning stage. I feel as though a lot of players are just concerned that she's a little bit easier to punish, but at the same time, you have to keep in mind how much her passive can really come into play for a team fighting environment. And when you have the mobility from gods such as Skadi and Chronos, and on top of that, the Batz ultimate to really shake things up, all around, that's a fairly solid draft.
Kuang, the final pick here for AI. Kuang, in my mind, certainly very strong. We saw Johnny absolutely obliterate the opposition yesterday with this Kuang. But into Ganesh. Ganesh feels like a god that can really mess with Kuang's mojo.
Ganesha is probably one of the worst matchups for an Kuang to try and deal with because of that silence. It's just absolutely annoying. And the Dharmic Pillars as well can be quite a nuisance as far as the slow is concerned. But Chapo is seasoned enough now to where his positioning shouldn't be that initial instigation factor. He really needs to rely on Whalrus and Incon here to be the ones burning out the actives and the Dharmic Pillars, if anything, to ensure that he can infiltrate that backline.
On the right side, look at this little grouping. 3 people, Plazma, Wolp, and Uzzy, all sitting in this little tiny pocket. I imagine this is going to end up in a speed buff invade here, Taco. Try and keep that Kuang down early while he's still weak.
It wouldn't surprise me that much to see the Kuang invade. That's kind of just one of the best things to do against him, and already getting a little bit of poke damage out. That's actually 5 members from a Mighty Storm looking to try and take down Chapo, but unsuccessful. They kind of suspected something was up.
That was, it took him down to about 50% HP, but having 2 health potions and 2 multi-potions, of course having the Bumba's Mask as well, it's going to make it a lot easier for him to heal up. This Plazma does go aggressive onto that right-hand side, but instead it's just going to be those mid-camps, not looking for the speed buff invade quite yet.
And already Whalrus getting the better end of the solo lane. That's kind of just one of those anticipated factors when you're looking at the Chulainn versus the Nike. Just a lot of easy lane clear. Both sides really just looking to clean up their buffs. And I think this is probably more in AI's favor that Chapo didn't get poked out any further, so that way his buffs didn't become susceptible to those invades. So
he does secure that speed as Whalrus finds a transformation. Good poke onto Uzzy, but with Plazma lurking, wise decision by Whalrus to just head towards the fire elementals instead. Could have gotten baited into a bad fight early on, but AI decides to play it a little bit safer. So Whalrus heads back towards the solo, going to clean up his buff solo as opposed to Uzzy, who's splitting that blue buff with Plazma. Walrus not only going to have a lead because of those fire elementals pick up, but because he gets to solo his buff instead of splitting it.
Fire elemental control is also pretty important for a team running an Kuang, just because, sure, he's got an okay early and mid game, but it's really that late game factor that you're trying to look out for, because if this game ends up going a little bit longer than what a Mighty Storm probably wanted to, then AI might have the upper hand. That's true, but late game, a Mighty Storm has a really solid composition as well. I mean, they've got Chronos, and Chronos is just as scary as Kuang in the late game for my money. I mean, Hunbat's excellent in the late game, and then you've got that Nike passive, meaning that everyone on your team is getting extra movement speed and extra damage just for Nike being alive on the map. So I don't think that, well, yes, AI's got an incredible late game composition between the Kuang, the Ra, and the Ram. Mighty Storm's not too bad either. True, but I think the big determining factor here might also be coming in with the dual lane, just because you've got XenoTronics, and this is kind of a guy that's been talked about for a long time, but never really come into that public eye as a, wow, Xeno. It's more been like, wow, why Xeno kind of deal. And I think originally he kind of just developed that playstyle that people weren't really too big of a fan of, because it was more of the sacrificial lamb for his team. He would kind of just roll with whatever the punches were, and now that he's got a chance to try and kind of reinstill his name. That's true, and that playstyle can work in the mid lane. I mean, we've seen mid laners who are willing to play unselfish or that setup role, but an ADC kind of got to be that carry. That, especially with a ROM, so in relegations, best of ones, this is your time to shine if you're really going to try and make the impact. And Team AI is the team that's fighting to keep its name in the SPL. Well, right now, is all evened up at 0. Both teams willing to play this one kind of slow because, as we mentioned, both pretty strong in the later stages. No, we have to wait and see if Mighty Storm wants to invade on that speed, but Chapo has back to get those boots too, making him a little bit stronger on the defense. He's on the left side of the map. May just try and secure this left side buff as Incon gets aggressed on his Ghost. Still looking for XenoTronics, though. Doesn't use the ultimate. Chapo heads over to try and support his team. A lot of poke potential already from Ghost on this Skadi. That's just one little tick of damage from the one off of her. And they've got to be careful here surrounding their red buff. Plazma knows. You can tell that he really wants to go in, and it's going to be Vivian trying to hover around it, but that red buff's, I believe, are going to be secured for AI. It was. Now Incon going in on that left side with good permafrost.
sends all 3 going. But here comes the ultimate, and the ultimate coming out of Incon. I like the idea, but you give the opposition a lot of time to react if you're telegraphing your hand that quickly.
A little bit too much too soon kind of factor. Maybe if Chapo had been weaving his way through the jungle side as opposed to directly in the lane. But sometimes it happens. They at least got the Dharmic Pillars out of the Ganesh.
Sure, but that's not a particularly long ult cooldown, but you're looking at Athena ult. That's an impactful one that was just used. Even with all that time spent on the left side of the map, though, Plazma did not, nor Uzzy did not, neither took the opportunity to go and invade AI speed, so Kuang will have that available there. I like where their head's at. I do.
I'm excited to see that combination a little bit later on, and maybe when Chapo has a possible Blink online.
That's true. Yeah, Blink would make that a whole lot easier. We talked about Mighty Storm during the picks and bans, that there are a lot of players that you may have heard of who've been right on the cusp or very close, involved in the scene in one way or another. Uzzy, obviously on Noble during the spring split, I believe, was his time on Noble. And then a long career on the console scene, very successful there. Plazma, the longtime jungler for the most wanted Challenger Cup team, the 2-man taunt in the mid lane, right into the snipe. Wolp already very low. Chapo going in, and Chapo's gonna find it. First blood goes to AI, but what are they gonna lose in response? Chapo falls a Ghost. Big rotation out of that Hunter. Whalrus is here. Incon very low. Vivian trying to chase him down, but Ghost won't let him escape. That's a double kill for the Hunter as Xeno takes to the sky. Needs to find all 3, but only finds 2. 2-1. Mighty Storm end up on top in total, but AI gets a first blood onto their Kuang in the jungle. I'm sure they're not too upset.
It was just that rotation by Ghost that completely caught AI off guard. They were trying to disengage, and you could immediately see Chapo just the light fleeting from his eyes as he's just trying to get out of there. But sometimes that's just a sacrifice you make. He wasn't able to get his ultimate off to actually go up into the sky after securing the kill onto Wolp, and because of that, it ultimately leads to an all-too-easy rotation for a Mighty Storm.
But Wolp did have to use the purification beads there, meaning that he could be susceptible to a CC chain into that Dragon Execute for the next 2 minutes or so. Before I was so rudely interrupted by that team fight in the mid lane, Plazma was the longtime jungler for Most Wanted, a very successful Challenger Cup team who actually went to the Gauntlet during Season 3 alongside guys like Data Remember and other guys you may have heard of there. Fino K actually on that roster as well in the solo lane, I believe. Wolp, the lone guy who you probably haven't heard of a whole lot, but prominent ranked player.
He's a prominent ranked player, and he started off mostly in the Joust side of things, actually, and I know most people are probably just going like Ulu Joust, but realistically, his mechanics are definitely on point, and it looks like the engagement's actually coming off the T-Money, trying to weave his way in and out of those Dharmic Pillars, taking a whole lot of damage, though, from that Chronos.
And that was with Incon's ultimate. Xeno getting chased down by Ghost. He has to use his purification beads in response to Ghost's ultimate. As Chapo doesn't have beads, and he gets blown up pretty quickly. T-Money gets killed by Uzzy in the mid lane, and Chapo finished off by Plazma in the jungle. 2 quick kills for a Mighty Storm. Question is, what are they going to do with it? A little bit too low on mana to pull the Gold Fury here. Instead, looking for the purple buff invade.
Buff invades are probably pretty easy secure right now. They can tell that it's not up, however, so they might have to hang around a little bit longer. XenoTronics should be returning to lane, so Ghost is going to opt to fall back to his side of the map instead with Plazma and just secure their own. But that was a really solidly coordinated team fight by a Mighty Storm. Because of the way that they split off Team Money, Incon immediately believes that Team Money is kind of safe, starts making his way over towards Chapo, who's caught in danger, and there's just nothing that he can do because of how they split the team.
And look at the ward coverage. AI's got a sentry ward on that top left side, yes, but 2 regular wards from a Mighty Storm gave them enough information to see that Team Money was all alone on that top left side and taking the incorrect pathing into the mid lane. He gets punished for it, as does Chapo, who ends up falling and trying to counter-initiate on that fight. Vivian X3, the former Allegiance support, came to land with them during the Gauntlet. Got a little bit of experience there before being replaced by Neil Ma. But having that LAN experience can be very, very valuable, even if it was a short one like the Gauntlet.
And even still, before the LAN event, he was still participating in scrims, if anything, at an SPL level. So it's just all little bits here and there to kind of just boost the player's knowledge.
This is a team of a lot of players that have been on the cusp, like I mentioned, and this is their chance to try and break into it. AI trying to defend their SPL spot with a bunch of veteran players. and a couple less than experienced. Incon finds that taunt onto Vivian, and T-Money off the mark there with the snipe. Xeno also used his ultimate. That was a full commit to try and burn the Ganesh. With that initial ultimate from T-Money off the mark, AI immediately decided not to continue that engagement. I actually like what Xeno does there. He goes up into the sky, and as soon as T-Money misses the ultimate, he doesn't shoot off any shots, doesn't give a Mighty Storm the information that he ulted in that scenario.
If anything, it's just going to be off of Q sounds. Just maybe Ghost might have heard XenoTronics going up into the air. Either way, Xeno is still kind of just trying to bide his time in this duo lane. As a Rom versus Skadi, most people would typically assume that the Astral Arrows give you the advantage since they can pierce with 2 shots onto Kaldar, but that's not necessarily the case because of how her permafrost works. It actually works against Rom for the most part, since the AoE is so large, it's pretty much impossible to avoid, and it really messes up his role.
Well, Ghost by himself for the moment, but his team is on the way. Has to use the ultimate, and Chapo continues to try in the chase, but the slow from the Dharmic Pillar is enough to get him out of danger. Now Incon forced into the ultimate as Kaldir continues the chase onto Chapo. Wolp and Plazma lurking. They're going to get a red buff for their troubles unless Whalrus has something to say about it. Red buff does go down. It looks like it may have gone the way of AI. Now Xeno locked down on the permafrost courtesy of Vivian. Mighty Storm nor AI lose a member.
I'm certainly anticipating Ghost as well to really start knocking away once he finishes off that Transcendence and probably builds into a Brawlers is what I'd imagine, considering that he is facing off against a Raw. It's just the easiest way to really move about things if you're trying to look for easy lockdown poke.
It's great poke. It provides the anti-heal. It gives everything that Skadi wants. Skadi, not like most hunters who need power, pen, attack speed. Attack speed, not really too matter. It doesn't really matter too much on the Skadi. Instead, just get the power, get the penetration, and use those incredible abilities that she has. And then you get to hit an auto attack for 250 every once in a while. That's fine too. It's just kind of a bonus.
I want to say cleaner engagements from AI because it's clear that they want to commit, and it's great that they're all pretty much on the same page whenever they are initiating. However, I feel as though there's just still a little bit out of sync here and there, and because of that, they're going to end up ultimately kind of just falling a little bit too far behind. And even though they're not really in a concerning point right now, it could potentially become a problem later on.
Oracles go the way of AI. No look at the Gold Fury quite yet because Xeno doesn't have those Devourer's Gauntlets finished off. I mean, as soon as those Devourer's Gauntlets start getting stacked, that's an opportunity for AI to not only try and pull the Gold Fury with everyone there, but Xeno can really solo that thing fairly easily. Rom with that additional attack speed, you're getting more healing, you're putting out more damage. A pretty good character with those Devo Gauntlets.
It works the same way, though, for a Mighty Storm. Having the Skadi and the Chronos available, that
True.
is a lot of objective shreds, so I'm sure that they're going to keep that objective pretty heavily warded. And if anything, whoever goes on the Gold Fury, I'd like to see maybe a little bit of a pull from the Portal Demon from the opposing side.
Could be. We're ready to go back in game. A short pause between a Mighty Storm and AI, but we're right back into it. We're 12 minutes in. 4-1, a Mighty Storm in the lead in kills, but actually slightly behind in gold. I mean, 500 gold is not anything to worry about or really even discuss, but when you're the team who's ahead in kills is behind in gold, a little bit worth mentioning as Gold Fury does get pulled here by AI. Vivian and Wolp in the area. There's a taunt and the snipe. This time it's going to connect, and T-Money gets the kill. A quick pick for AI, and now Wolp decides to back up. This Gold Fury is going to go the way of AI, probably for free, but they're getting it pretty slowly. Ghost does try and get in there. Xeno does secure it for AI, and now Whalrus in the back line trying to handle Wolp and Ghost. Fear No Evil wasn't enough, and Uzzy shows up as well. Not enough to find those kills quite yet, but Whalrus in a lot of trouble. He will fall, so 1 for 1. A Mighty Storm claims the life of Whalrus, but AI get a kill of their own and the Gold Fury. Can they defend what Mighty Storm will do in response, though? They're heading towards this Portal Demon. As you mentioned, Taco, this is what you wanted to see.
And immediately, I can't really see a whole lot of contest coming through, especially not if Uzzy's able to find this kill in the mid lane. It looks like Chapo's trying to turn the tables, though. Incon gonna go ahead and aggress onto Uzzy a little bit more, and now that he's got the rest of his team to try and back him up, but just too tanky right now at level 14.
Very smart play there by Uzzy, understanding that he could take all that damage that AI had backed and diving driving the tower, not an issue there. But also well played by Chapo to use the ultimate to get Uzzy out of range, because that slow is what's so impactful about that ultimate most of the time. Even if Chapo uses the purification beads, Uzzy probably in range to hit the auto attack necessary to find the kill. If he uses the ultimate there, it takes Uzzy out of the combat and makes sure that he can't hit that auto attack. So well played on both sides there. Former teammates going at one another, but a Mighty Storm did secure that Portal Demon without much issue thanks to Uzzy's zoning. Now they're looking for the aggression in that mid lane, but Incon's the one looking to aggress now as he gets stunned out right as he dashes in. Wolp with a well-timed stop time to make sure he doesn't get taunted.
I'm sure that Wolp's going to be holding on to that ability pretty frequently now whenever his team's looking to clear out routes in the jungle with wards, just because you never really know what to expect from an Athena, and especially one like Incon, he is kind of keen for aggression.
And that being said, even though he hit the stun and Vivian was there with the silence, Wolp still used the purification beads, because there is some time from hitting that stop time into the stun, and we saw how quickly AI can burst off of that Athena taunt. So Wolp uses the defensive relic despite having the right plays to keep himself safe. So at the end of the day, AI kind of got what they wanted.
And as long as they can find the little things, I think that's ultimately going to keep lining up for the bigger picture. But speaking of bigger picture, Plazma with that second Brawlers as the rush, that's just a right direction to go when you're facing off against a Raw. Typically you want cooldown, hold that thought though. Incon trying to make something happen, but Team Money a preemptive ultimate.
Again, as did XenoTronics, both using their ultimates beforehand. So now Vivian gonna find the engagement onto Chapo. Blink Fear No Evil comes out of Plazma, but Chapo had the beads, but he's walking right into Ghost, who finds him right around the corner, but Chapo blinks away right as the ultimate comes out of the Skadi. XenoTronics now left alone. He used his ultimate earlier, remember, trying to find that kill off the taunt. Xeno's gonna fall to the hand of Ghost, and a Mighty Storm takes advantage of the misused ultimates from AI.
Just a little bit too much damage to handle from AI. This is more of a late game oriented team comp, but Whalrus is here now to try and make something happen, and he is able to pick up Ganesha, but Wolp unfortunately cleaning up Chapo behind him. Now it's going to be the stop time rewind from Wolp as he's trying to re-engage, getting the pause onto Whalrus, and he's going to get cleaned up by Uzzy.
Wolp is going to get credit for it, actually. That's 2 kills now for Wolp as Team Money returns to the mid lane. Incon still here, about half HP, and Team Money does have that ultimate available now. Wolp, no purification beads. Could be Team Money looking for that combination with Incon onto the mid laner, but instead they decide to give up that 500 gold. Unfortunate there for AI, because Vivian, if Chapo finds that execute, that fight goes entirely differently, but Whalrus puts in a little bit too much damage and kills the Ganesha before Chapo can find the execute, and a Mighty Storm capitalized off that mistake yet again.
It's just really unlucky more than anything else. It's just the little clockworks haven't really all started lining up just yet for AI. There's been some moments, for instance, that kill onto Vivian before they were able to capitalize on the Gold Fury secure afterwards. And it's those solid picks that they need to keep happening. If it's not clean, it's pretty much bust.
That being said, despite being down 8-3, AI is still even in gold, in large part due to that Gold Fury, as you mentioned, but they've been farming well on top of that. XP, slightly different. Mighty Storm ahead in that regard. A lot of that 500 gold in the mid and the right-hand side, 2 tier 1 towers gone on the side of AI, but still sticking close in terms of overall gold. As I mentioned, XP, you can see a couple different leads. One level lead in the jungle, 1 level lead in mid, and then a 2 level lead in the dual lane. Ghost really having his way with Xeno so far.
The problem also is just how many kills Ghost was able to secure early on. 4-0-3 as a Skadi and already sitting at level 16, 17 and a half minutes and climbing. That's pretty insane as far as experience is concerned, but really what I'm keeping in mind is that Permafrost is a horrible ability for an Kuang to try and deal with. Vivian
taunted. No, actually interrupted the taunt with the Ohm. This time AI holds it. There's the taunt and the snipe, but again, way off the mark from Team Money. Whalrus finds a 3-man rock up in the back line, but Team Money already getting shredded by Plazma, who's got 2 targets to choose from. Xeno takes to the sky, and Team Money still on the run. Chapo getting hunted by the dog. He's going to be able to kill that, but Wolp's going to kill him At the same time, T-Money did end up falling on the left-hand side, and a Mighty Storm claimed 2 more kills. Incon and Whalrus still sticking around, but a Mighty Storm on the Gold Fury down to about half HP.
Uzzy's got all too easy of an interrupt, and they decided to reset it instead and immediately clean up Incon. They don't want any issues locking down this Gold Fury.
And it will go down in a Mighty Storm's favor. That gold that AI was so close in, now close no longer. 11-3, a Mighty Storm get their first Gold Fury of the game. And now they're in the lead, about 2,000 gold. That XP difference probably larger at this stage as well. And they're looking to keep it going. Taco, Portal Demon, next on the list.
This is what's incredibly rough for AI right now. It just seems as though they're having way too many issues with the counter engage from a Mighty Storm. That counter engage is just absolutely crushing AI.
I mean, when you build a team comp around killing someone off your initial engage, Athena taunt into Raw Snipe into Kuang execute, and that's got to be on a frontliner. If that goes poorly, you have probably lost the team fight right off the bat. And that's exactly what's happened to AI multiple times now in this game. You have to be on the mark with an execution-heavy composition like this. And let's be honest with each other. This is not a difficult composition to execute. It just hasn't happened, and there's a big reason why AI is behind it now because of that.
T-Money really needs to start connecting with these raw snipes more than anything else. He's not looking like the mechanically sound player that I've definitely seen him be before, and I don't want to say that it's anything to do with like first-time jitters, because I don't think that's the case here. I
mean, at some point you gotta think about that though, because T-Money has spent some time as Eager's substitute, has been a top-ranked player, but this is his first real forage into the competitive scene. And it hasn't started off well. Now, that's not saying that he can't turn it around, because usually in situations like this, you just need a little bit of confidence. You need to hit one big raw snipe without an Athena taunt. Then you're saying, okay, I still got this. It's going to be all right. It's just a matter of when that's going to come for AI, as the Tier 1 tower on left does fall to the pressure from Ghost and Plazma. That means all 3 Tier 1 towers for AI are now in the dirt. That's 1,500 gold in total for a Mighty Storm, 500 gold apiece. Extending that gold lead a little bit farther. T-Money gets aggressed on, use the Purification Beads, and Plasma's Blink ultimate doesn't do a whole lot for a Mighty Storm, but those Dharmic Pillars do slow down Chapo. Vivian level 14, evening that of Chapo at this stage.
And everybody just grew from a Mighty Storm. They can't really afford to let the pressure up, though, because AI are running a roster that can come back in the late game. Speaking of which, Whalrus already trying to make something happen, going onto Vivian. Kaldar's in the mix now, as well as Uzzy's trying to re-engage.
Whalrus finds the knock-up onto Vivian. Chapo looking for the execute, but the Ganesh is just too tanky. Uzzy zones away 4 with 1 ultimate. Makes sure that Chapo's all alone. T-Money fired off the ultimate there. Don't know if it connected or not, but either way, not enough damage. There's a taunt onto Uzzy, who uses Purification Beads. That was his second relic selection. And against, again, an execution-heavy composition, both figuratively and literally, whether it's an execute off the taunt for the raw snipe or that dragon execute from Kuang. Purification Beads actually makes a lot of sense here for Uzzy.
A Mighty Storm are not looking to give Chapo any freebies whatsoever, and if that means having to pick up Purification Beads as opposed to another team fighting relic, ultimately that's going to end up working out probably better for Uzzy as opposed to just dying off cooldown from execute.
That being said, Vivian also went for the meditation, trying to get away from that Kuang execution. A burst heal right before he uses it could spell disaster for AI, but no sprints on their side, no horrific emblems, no nothing like that. A horrific for Whalrus, a sprint for Incon, only 2 shells on both sides. So AI can team fight a Mighty Storm with their relics alone, but it's a matter of, will those Purification Beads, will that meditation make enough of an impact to make sure that Chapo can't get off to a roll?
AI just need time. They are far enough behind right now as far as the experience is concerned that it is a massive issue as far as committing and picking up the kills that they need to come back into this. They have to be very careful with which fights they choose to take up, and if they do choose to try and commit to one member from a Mighty Storm or multiple, they cannot back down in the slightest, because hesitation will be their demise.
Absolutely. We've talked about it a lot, but this composition designed into taunt, into raw snipe, into Kuang execute. And if you hesitate off the raw snipe, if you hesitate on the taunt, the execute, anything like that, it'll throw the whole thing in whack. Whether it's whether it's going to work or not. So a Mighty Storm just has to avoid that sort of combination. They've done so far. Vivian certainly has been the target more than any other with these taunts. No Spirit's Robe for him quite yet, but I would assume that should be coming down the line, can really throw a wrench in the plans of AI.
Ghost and Uzzy already approaching that level 20 mark, and Ghost is pretty much he's nearly full build. I can imagine that that is going to be the Titan's Bane that he's just trying to finish off on his build, and then last item, it's really just dependent on whatever he wants.
And not only is that great for being level 20 because you're max level and that's really strong, but with that Nike passive as well, you only need 2 members hitting level 20, and to get it soon could be really good. Taunt in the mid lane, as there goes a snipe, and Whalrus gonna clean up Plazma with help from the rest of the squad.
But it's going to be Xeno actually in a little bit of danger, but Chapo packing a punch into Wolp. Xeno's up in the air already, forcing out the Aegis from Wolp. He's going into rewind, but he's going to rewind straight back to XenoTronics.
Right into everyone, but Uzzy's right there with them. 2-man knockup with that leap, and he's going to help with the help of with Vivian. Forces out Chapo. Ghost finds T-Money, but Wolp did eventually fall. Uzzy still in that front line. Xeno, level 17, trying to put it into this level 20 solo laner, but it's so difficult. He's got so much protection. Nice tremble there from Whalrus into a good taunt from Incon. Xeno getting zoned now. He's got to back up, and Chapo very low. That silence that we were talking about, what can you do against it? Ghost is just running a rampage right now.
But it's going to be Whalrus trying to turn the tables onto Ghost as he's living at 1 HP in the back line, but having the front line of Uzzy and Ganesha, they're both practically full health. Whalrus is just doing the best that he can to escape right now. And again, it's just that Permafrost and the Kaldar combination. Chapo was really trying to find his way through that re-engage by Incon, but ultimately just wasn't able to secure it.
And the Ganesh silence ends up securing that he can't use Water Illusion, he can't use his ultimate, he can't really do a whole lot. One of those abilities that may not look that strong immediately, but the more you play against it, the more you realize just how potent it can be. Gold Fury down below 50% HP. Xeno is here along with Incon. Silence comes out, but Incon can't get in there to steal it away. No, Xeno got it! He's the one who got it! AI steal away that Gold Fury, and man, did they need that. That could not have come at a better time for the SPL team trying to defend their spot. A Mighty Storm could have really started to put the pressure on with that gold lead, but AI keep themselves in it. Everyone was so worried about Incon. I was worried about Incon.
I thought the Incon, I saw the Astral Arrow, and I just thought, no way. That's just no way. But XenoTronics found a way, and that is so crucial for AI. This team was not necessarily gold deprived, but just even that little bit of XP for his team and himself is going to really come into play for him.
And keeping it away from a Mighty Storm, as you mentioned, Ghost is almost full build. With that Gold Fury, he probably could have finished off that Shifter Shield and been full build. Wolp would have been that much closer to his Rod of Tahuti. I mean, that would have been huge for a Mighty Storm, but AI keep themselves in it. XenoTronics coming up big there with the Gold Fury steal. And as I mentioned, sometimes you just need a little bit of confidence. Sealing away an objective like that is an easy way to gain confidence quickly.
The sparks of life, and the fact that XenoTronics was able to survive afterwards. It wasn't even like he put himself in danger because it was Incon dragging all the attention from a Mighty Storm.
Vivian in a bad spot, but Incon didn't have the taunts available, so he'll be okay. Uzzy puts good poke onto T-Money, about 1/3 of his HP. Ren does good damage, and so does everything else that everyone's throwing at Whalrus, down to 50% just like that.
It's the anti-heal as well that's just getting constantly procced by either Ghost or Plazma. These two have non-stop been tossing out their 3 and their 1s and their 2s, and it's just insane. Overhand smash from Plazma, and his monkey on his 3rd ability have just been spreading it like crazy, and the same can be said for the Permafrost from Ghost.
Bait onto the Fire Giant here. See them trying to make some particle effects happen. Ghost first one in. He throws the Permafrost onto Whalrus and gets knocked up in response. Taunt as well onto Ghost. Takes a lot of damage, but not enough to find the kill quite yet. Chapo blinks forward. Big damage onto Wolp, but the Aegis saves his life. Rewind going to come through. He'll be full HP and in a good spot for this team fight. Plazma forced to jump away. He used that Fear No Evil defensively as Xeno has to use the Aegis in response to Wolp's damage. Plazma into the back line very low. Shell comes out from a Mighty Storm. Here come the snipes from Xeno. 1, 2, 3. Only hits the first. And so Plazma escapes. A lot of ultimates used, but no kills on either side.
It was just so much re-engage from both sides. The shells and the sprint really bought a ton of time for AI, but the same could be said for a Mighty Storm, except AI have the Raw on their side, and eventually those Brawler procs are going to wear off. Uzzy trying to buy his team a little bit more time so they can back and come into this Fire Giant, but it doesn't look like AI want to stick around much longer.
Uzzy sticking around there is huge because it was all of a Mighty Storm backs. That's a free Fire Giant for AI, and that's a good recognition by them that a Mighty Storm don't have any sustain. We've got Raw. Let's try and pull it. But now it could be a Mighty Storm in that same position. Did too many members of AI back.
What's terrifying, though, for a Mighty Storm is 2 members were almost immediately bursted, and AI isn't anywhere near the same way of item building as a Mighty Storm.
And Rod of Tahuti now done for Chapo. So even despite being 1-5, despite being kept down, he kept up in the levels, level 17, equal to that of Plazma. And eventually you hit critical mass on Kuang, and eventually you're going to one-shot someone. And we're not too far off from that point. 4 items completed. Still could use a little bit more power. That Rod not going to help out as much as it will in the late game. And that's what makes Rod of Tahuti so powerful. It's not only does it provide you a power spike as soon as you buy it, and a massive one at that, 125 power, and then it increases all the magical power you have from items up until that point. That's going to keep working. Every time you buy another item, it might say 100 power, but that's really adding 130 power because of the way Rod of Tahuti passive works.
And what's crazy is that Wolp, we thought that he was building into the Rod of Tahuti, but he actually opted for a Doom Orb. And that's a pretty late Doom Orb to pick up.
I'm going to be honest, that makes no sense to me at all. It really doesn't. I mean, you're not going to be able to stack it very quickly. I understand that you might feel like the next team fight's going to be really impactful, but you can still sit on that. As Snipe comes through from Team Money, Ghost was the target. I don't know if that hit or if there just wasn't enough follow-up, and now XenoTronics with the snipe. Still not enough. Trying to get Ghost into execute range for Chapo because he doesn't have the beads, but just not on the mark between the 2 long-range ults.
And with 2 ults already being expended on AI, that now it's just going to be the re-engage immediately from Vivian. The Batz ultimate is able to catch XenoTronics off guard, and now it's Chapo getting locked down by the Ganesha, and Ghost is going to find that one.
Vivian, big engage there. Incon has to use Defender of Olympus to get out of danger, and now it's a Mighty Storm with the opportunity to pull the Fire Giant. Immediately they turn their attentions to it. Wolp swinging on top of it. I believe it's Uzzy tanking it up, and he's more than healthy enough to do so. Team Money coming in, but Snipe a little bit late. Good choice there to try and get it, but it doesn't matter. A Mighty Storm claimed the first Fire Giant of the game. 30 minutes in, 16-5 in the lead. And now they can really get a significant gold lead for themselves.
Team Money's Ross Knight came up as soon as that Fire Giant was being secured, so he just immediately tried to launch it, but a bit unfortunate how the timing worked out on that one. And now, we've seen this one before, when a team secures FG, typically the towers follow right after.
Already got the mid-tier 2. That's 1,500 gold. This Gold Fury going to be another big burst of income for a Mighty Storm. Going to be able to finish off their item builds. Ghost going to be full build, no doubt about that. Wolp can start working towards what should be a Rod of Tahuti, though maybe it'll be a Chronos pendant once he builds that lost artifact.
It was just that awkward commit onto Ghost. He has a wing blade. It's enough movement speed to give him the juke shoes in case he doesn't have his permafrost out already for himself. And when Team Money's ultimate wasn't able to connect and Ghost was able to venture a little bit further into his side of the map, I don't feel as though XenoTronics trying to commit to his ult was possibly the safest thing to do there, because you know that the re-engage, the counter-engage is going to come immediately after 2 ults are burned.
Exactly, and it was a perfect ultimate by Vivian in order to lock XenoTronics in, make him hesitate for half a second, and then that gives Plazma enough time to close the gap with that Blink, Fear No Evil. Zeno's beads were down, Chapo's beads were down, and a really excellent charge by Vivian locks him down long enough to allow Ghost to shred him down. Just really good team play so far from a Mighty Storm, who have looked really, really strong in this game. Not a lot of mistakes from them so far in this one, and their lead is there to show for it. Emperor's armor is applied, but good lord, look at that damage. What was that, 281
Chronos
from Skadi and then 381 from Chronos? Like, that was 6 auto attacks total?
That 4th segment on his passive where it just gives his auto attacks some increased damage, it absolutely shreds any sort of tower.
And now Plazma has Deathbringer. He just crit that back camp for over 1,000. there's so much damage on the side of a Mighty Storm. Already that Phoenix takes a big chunk, but there's a taunt onto Wolp. Incon takes a lot, snipe off the mark from Mighty's from T-Money, and immediately the backline, but Chapo finds a kill with that water illusion, the flashy kill onto Wolp. That's a big play.
That's a massive play, but it's going to be up to Whalrus to try and get out of this one, and XenoTronics is able to buy him enough time as Whalrus pops that shell to save his own life, but the same can't be said for the right-hand Phoenix. Sure, they found the kill onto the Chronos, but losing a Phoenix is still pretty big.
Chapo lurking, Ghost alone for the moment, but not too far away from the rest of his squad. Right side Phoenix falls, but AI do find the kill onto Wolp.
And it's unfortunate for AI that they weren't able to hold that any further, but considering that they still killed the Chronos, that at least prevents them from losing 2, possibly even 3 Phoenixes.
And now they've got 4 members. Incon has the ultimate, so it can be 5 very quickly. And AI looking to bait a Mighty Storm into a bad fight. Really just need to take some towers down because every single tower is still on the map for a Mighty Storm. AI pretty far away from ending this one as Whalrus does receive that Defender of Olympus, and Incon's here. Sniped way too early from T-Money again, and now Incon getting shredded. Uzzy in the back line trying to handle it. Chapo in the back, though, finds Plazma quickly right away. Now getting chased down by Ghost. Chapo still sitting at about half HP, still has Blink and the ultimate available. Taunt onto Vivian, good damage onto the support, but not quite enough. Xeno does have the snipes, but holds onto it for the moment. Chapo lurking in the jungle again, has ultimate, has Blink, can re-engage here, and Incon, despite being pretty low, looking for him, but Ghost, his dog just tracks down Xeno, who had Aegis, who had ult, just stepped one too far forward, slipped on the ice, right into the waiting jaws of Kaldir.
You see how far back Ghost was?
Skadi, man.
That is probably one of the most frustrating mechanics for a Hunter player to try and deal with. And poor XenoTronics, now that he's down, his team's going to try and hold this middle-hand Phoenix without him, but it is getting absolutely shredded away at by Wolp and Ghost.
There's the taunt. Snipe again, too early from T-Money. That was a 2-man taunt onto the back line that could have been big, but not enough damage onto them. And so that middle Phoenix falls. Only 2 structures remaining for AI, and they're both on the left side of the map.
And this is, it's interesting how long AI have really just been able to hold on to this one, because right when you think that they're down and out, they make some kind of play happen where they find a pick or 2 and then they push and it works out for them. But it's crazy how all they've secured so far is the mid lane Phoenix or mid lane T1.
They've gotten some kills to end off team fights, but they haven't been able to get any objectives afterwards. The difference for Mighty Storm is they've, number 1, found more kills. They're more than doubling what AI has in the kill column, but they've also been able to find the objectives afterwards, and that's where the real lead comes from, whether it be Fire Giant, Gold Fury, Towers. Doesn't really matter. As Fire Giant again being knocked down by a Mighty Storm for the moment. Whalrus is in. Incon charging up that dash, looking for the Blink engage. No relics right now for Team Money, no purification beads for XenoTronics, but watch out Ghost. He's only got that Aegis, he's only got those purification beads. Might not save you from the burst if AI is quick, but they haven't proven that they've been able to execute quickly like that so far this game.
Ghost and Uzzy are also the only 2 members to have not died so far in this game, so their positioning has definitely been pretty solid, as well as Uzzy just being a strong mitigating factor for all that damage that AI keeps trying to put out.
8-0 and 8 for Ghost. Probably near the top of the player damage as well. Fire Giant started and already very low. They try and get in there, but it's already gone. A Mighty Storm gets it. Snipes onto Ghost. No Aegis for him, remember. And Whalrus in there with that Defender of Olympus trying to make something happen. Big damage, and Whalrus going to find Ghost. That's his first death this game, and he's going to be able to escape. And for the moment, Uzzy finally finds him, but 3 dead on the side of a Mighty Storm. Chapo gobbles up Vivian. Ghost already lost his perfect scoreline. Uzzy might be next. Just a matter of if AI want to chase him. In fact, they might have to, because look at all the fire minions going into the base. If AI just decided to push with everyone there, Uzzy might have been able to potentially end.
No, there's no way, because T-Money backed, and so he's going to be the lone defender for that Phoenix that just respawned on AI's side, and now it's just going to be Uzzy getting locked down. Xeno, no way that he's going to be able to drop this one, and sure enough, finds the kill onto Uzzy.
4 dead for a Mighty Storm, but again, what can AI get out of these kills, Taco?
Time.
Right side Phoenix respawns, and T-Money's going to be able to push that out and make sure that that stays safe for the moment. But with Wolp up in less than 20, Ghost, Vivian also up in less than 20, I don't think AI is even going to be able to get a tower out of this.
All they need to find is keep buying themselves more and more time, because Chronos' late game is phenomenal. Like, don't get me wrong in the slightest about that. And maybe even Batz, because Batz's ultimate can literally change every team fight. But there is just so much burst potential from AI that the later this game goes, the more in favor it's probably going to be for them. And just the fact that they were able to get that pretty much almost a full team deicide at the Fire Giant. I mean, they found 4 members after a Mighty Storm were pretty much full health on that FG. It's just that commit and the engage from AI was just a ton of burst damage, and it's so incredibly difficult to counteract that when you're just dead from the get-go.
And you know who was the first to fall? Ghost. For the first time this game, look at his player damage right now. 36,000. Over 10,000 more than anyone else in this game. That's absolutely preposterous. He's been killing it on this Skadi, and so AI are able to take him down first, and what do you know, they win the team fight right after that. Speed buff invade goes successfully for a Mighty Storm, but here comes the engage 2-man taunt, but again, onto the tanks. It forces out the ultimate from Uzzy. Chapo able to dash away. Vivian gonna get a speed buff of his own and drop those Dharmic Pillars. Chapo has purification beads right in time as Vivian was looking for that stun. Big knockup from Whalrus, but he's now left all alone. Fear No Evil comes through. Nice snipe that time from Team Money. Hits a couple members and forces them back, and the rewind from Wolp. Here comes Incon. No taunt. That was the dream scenario, but just didn't have the cooldown available. Xeno really chunking away these frontliners. Not enough to commit the ultimate.
That was an absolutely beautiful ult by Incon. Without Incon's recognition that Whalrus is in that much danger, I don't see Whalrus surviving that any other way. The Defender of Olympus gave him enough protections to live through everybody from a Mighty Storm trying to burst him down.
Incon has had a very solid game on this Athena, I would say. 0-4-11. Not the greatest scoreline on earth, but keep in mind, he's been a part of every kill. AI has 11, he's got 11 assists, and he's found great taunt after great taunt. It's really been the backline's fault that those haven't resulted in kills.
And the best part about all of that, AI's got their Phoenixes back. Now we are at a 40-minute game that is practically even, despite the differences in gold. Everybody's approaching level 20. Well, minus Incon. He's level 17, but for support, it's not as important. All that really matters for him is probably his gold, but levels don't mean as much after around level 15, 16 for a support.
Could use that extra damage on Defender of Olympus, I suppose, but it already does enough good damage anyways. Damage not really what you're using it for at this stage anyways. It's mobility and trying to give your team a damage mitigation, as we saw him do to Whalrus on that back right side. A Mighty Storm still posturing pretty aggressively as Fire Giant just now falls off of Plazma. That means it's respawning in less than a minute. I don't think we'll see a Mighty Storm try and push this Phoenix here. Just try and set up and get that ward coverage for this next Fire Giant dance.
What I'm curious about for a Mighty Storm is that these are all players that have kind of flirted around with the idea of making it in the pro leagues, but never really quite been able to fully grasp a solid handle on it. And now that we are like going this late into a game, this is where experience really helps, because a lot of teams can struggle with not knowing how to close out a game even when the lead is in their favor.
Very true. Excellent point. Incon, Whalrus, Chapo, they've all been there. They've closed out those games. XenoTronics has as well. They know how to do it. It's a matter of if they can will their team to victory. I like this Magi's Blessing pickup, by the way, by Wolp. Sold that late game Doom Orb. A wise decision of its own right. But picking up this Magi's means that he can conserve his purification beats for something like an Kuang execute instead of worrying about that initial taunt. Still probably shouldn't be hit by that initial taunt if he's positioning well, but in case of emergency, it's there for him.
The same could be said for Ghost, who actually opted to sell off his shifters for a Mantle of Discord. So not only does he get a little bit of CC immunity whenever it's procced, but on top of that, it's basically a mini Gebbolt.
It's great against Kuang, who needs to be in that range in order to deal good damage to you. Ghost thought about pulling Fire Giant and did for the moment, but ends up dropping it, deciding against it. Relics, everything up on both sides. Items, everything ready to go. Ultimates, everything ready to go. Just a matter of who's going to be the first to commit. Taunt onto Uzzy. No follow-up off of that. Look at where Chapo is, lurking on that back left side. No, can't go behind the opposition. Too many wards there for him to be spotted out by, but just waiting for the initial fight to start. He does not want to be the first one in. That's typical Kuang play. Fire Giant pulled again, this time below 2/3 HP. Leashed right away. Whalrus gets hit by that permafrost. Incon stepping forward, looking for the taunt. It's going to be onto Vivian. No commit onto him, though. And Whalrus gets booked down to about half HP very, very quickly. That forces the ultimate from Incon and Whalrus, who also transforms on top of that. Pretty solid win for a Mighty Storm. That's what they're looking for.
But Whalrus has that transformation pretty readily available, so I can imagine that he's down to just stay in this form for a little bit.
Chapo gets spotted out in that mid lane. Ghost was looking for him, but Water Illusion Stealth is good enough. Vivian takes a bunch of damage. He's already very low. Stun comes through onto Whalrus. He jumps away. T-Money sniped just off the mark, but Chapo gets in there and finds the execute. The Fear no Evil not in time to save the life of Vivian. Now Chapo finds the re-engage right on top of Ghost. Big damage onto him, but he may have thrown his life forward. Indeed he did, but Snipes coming through from Xeno. Shell saves the life of Ghost. Good accuracy out of AI's Hunter, but punished for it he was. Portal Demon's up here. And for some reason, AI is just backing instead of pulling that. I feel like that's the prime time to pull an objective like Portal Demon.
Unfortunate for AI that they ended up losing Chapo in that one. He preemptively popped his Water Illusion because he was expecting that damage to maybe kill and secure Wolp's life, but unfortunately for him, that Aegis was still on the ready.
It was
or actually
Ghost.
for Ghost. For Ghost,
exactly.
yes.
But absolutely the line of play there for Chapo. Either way, they get the 1-for-1, but that certainly favors a Mighty Storm. As Xeno in a lot of trouble, he's got to use his Aegis in response to Uzzy's aggression. Snipe from T-Money doesn't hit anybody again, and now all of AI on the run. Ghost, Plazma, Uzzy, all trying to close the gap. Plazma can't quite find that somersault, though. Was looking for that 40% slow. Wasn't on the mark, but now it's a Mighty Storm's time to try and pull this Portal Demon.
Who can disengage faster seems to be the main storyline here. For the second that somebody isn't in a favorable position, the other team just immediately tries their best to run away as fast as possible.
Now with everyone here for a Mighty Storm and most of AI pretty far away, could have been a gold or fire giant pull opportunity, but decided to play it safe. 45 minutes in, 20-12. A Mighty Storm in the lead. Gold, who cares? Experience, who cares? It's late game, boys. Anything can happen at this stage.
Right now, the only thing that matters is the death spawn death spawn timers. If you're dying, you are gone for at least a minute, and that is absolutely devastating when it comes to fighting around and trying to defend a Phoenix. Because I would say we're starting to approach that point where FG doesn't even make too much of an impact other than the health regen. Sure, you get like a little bit of a buff all around, but it's not enough to make such an impacting factor or an impactful factor where the other team cannot fight you into it.
We've seen that pretty consistently during relegations, and that's that a team gets Fire Giant, and then the other team can still kind of defend against it, especially with how tanky these Phoenixes are now. I'll have to wait and see if that's the case here. Is a little bit of poke onto Xeno and Whalrus. Lots of poke onto Xeno. He's already 1 HP, and he's dead. Uzzy gets the credit, but it was Vivian who got the kill. Ganesh passive credits it to Uzzy. Xeno just caught out of position there. Now Whalrus chased down. Fear no Evil comes out from Plazma. Still a pretty tanky solo laner. Walrus's Mantle of Discord procs, and he escapes with his life. But it's what can a Mighty Storm do? Can they even get the Fire Giant here?
I almost want to see AI kind of just forfeit the Fire Giant and look to defend their Phoenixes whenever the team fight breaks out.
It seems to be the call, and indeed it will be. That's the 3rd Fire Giant for a Mighty Storm. Will 3 be the magic number as they immediately head towards that right side, trying to go for the weakened Phoenix. XenoTronics still dead for 35 seconds plus.
They have to go ham while Xeno is dead. And AI are going to have a really hard time holding this, but check out Chapo. He's lurking around that backside. I think he's got his eyes set onto Ghost or Wolp.
Well, Plazma had to use the purification beads there off the taunt from Incon. Good poke, and that forces Ghost Aegis as well. T-Money on the mark with that Celestial Beam, but mid-Phoenix going very low already. Whalrus into the back line, finds that Tremble. Snipe onto Wolp, hits! And there comes Chapo. Not quite enough damage. The Dragon doesn't get there in time, and now Chapo's on the run. He's going to fall to Plazma. Wolp's rewind baits beautifully, but now Xeno has respawned. Got 70 seconds until Chapo's back up. Wolp, the last one out, and he gets taunted in. But force the Aegis, but he's going to be A-okay. Now a Mighty Storm has the opportunity to knock down this final tower, and that's exactly what they will do. Won't stand long to the Skadi and the Chronos. Now it's only the left side Phoenix. Relics still up here for T-Money, but Wolp, no relics. Plazma, no beads. Ghost, no Aegis. Watch out for them. Beautiful silence there onto Incon. Snipe comes through from T-Money, but it's way too early. Again, Incon gets a taunt off, and he's still alive, but Xeno shreds Plazma. Uzzy does find Incon in the backline, and Whalrus trying to force out the backline damage dealers. Uzzy still tanking up that Phoenix, is already down to below half HP. Ghost and Wolp throw an auto attack each, and that'll take care of that. All 3 Phoenixes down now as Vivian tries to turn the engage. Whalrus went up a little bit too far, but the heal from T-Money keeps him up. So 3 still up for AI.
This is absolutely insane. How well drawn out these fights have been just from AI, considering that they're fighting into it 4v5. Xeno wasn't available. Chapo tries to make a play, unfortunately gets cleaned up for it. Xeno respawns, comes back in, finds the kill onto Plazma, and even though they've lost all 3 Phoenixes, this is where it becomes a little bit more difficult for AI to try and stall much further.
How do you feel about this late game Poison Star for XenoTronics? Poison Star to me feels like an excellent mid-game item where you're going to be trading damage with 1 to 2 other people. In the late game, I think I'd rather just insta-kill someone than worry about them doing less damage when I crit them.
Seller for Wind Demon, no doubt. It doesn't have as much of an effect with the 20% slow as what you could possibly have gaining the increased attack speed, because Rama already has that attack speed boost from his second ability. However, with only an Executioner, he really needs to try and be spamming that attack speed as much as possible, especially if you're looking for the crit route. You need those in-hands to just be flying out there, and I don't feel as though it's having as much of an impact with the Poison Star as what he could possibly find with Wind Demon. You still get the crit chance, but you also get a little boost to your attack speed as well.
Nearly everyone in this game, all the damage dealers, has some sort of defensive item. Xeno, Magi's, Wolp, Magi's, Mantle of Discord for Ghost, Mantle of Discord as well for a couple other players that were the frontliners, Pestilence for Plazma. Chapo, all damage, no defense, trying to just one-shot a backliner, and I think that might be the way to go. But that Magi's Blessing has paid off pretty heavily for Wolp so far. Can't argue with the results that he's had, nor the damage that Ghost is putting out. My man's got 45,000. Whether he has got a Mantle of Discord or not doesn't really matter. Mighty Storm posturing right in front of the Titan room. They've only got 15 seconds left on this Fire Giant. They need these fire waves to be pushed up, though, and be the initiators into the Titan room, but raw clear in the late game still excellent. Not all mage abilities will clear out a full wave instantly, at least the archers, but Celestial Beam still does.
The damage, the passive damage, though, that Chronos is obtaining right now from how late this game is embarking into is pretty insane. As time progresses, he gets a lot more added on, and considering we're 50 minutes deep, that's a ton of poke.
Taunt onto Plazma, use the beads and the ultimate from T-Money. Wasn't on the mark. Uzzy first one in. He's going to slow just about everybody down, but not enough damage. Big damage onto the Titan, actually, from that Ganesha ultimate, as the right side Phoenix does eventually fall. Ghost had to use the Aegis, though. Big damage coming onto him from AI. Now mid-Phoenix due to respawn. Titan has to worry about these fire waves that are going to be pouring in from the right and left pretty soon. Whalrus forces everyone back for the moment. Heal comes down from T-Money to try and top everyone on AI off. One auto attack is all it's going to take, but no one can quite find it onto the mid-Phoenix quite yet. Mid-Phoenix takes those fire minions, but still sitting at 100 HP, not even.
It's legit just one auto attack from the Chronos, or even Ghost would be able to knock that down pretty much, but they are trying to play it as safe as possible. They're hesitating a lot.
Taunt onto Plazma. There's a snipe, but the execute doesn't go through. Plazma's able to jump away in time. Chapo still has it available. Wolp gets bursted down, though, and Xeno's the one who gets credit. Immediately AI pushing forward. Incon can't quite close the distance in order to find the taunt. And so AI decide they need to defend their Titan room. Left side Phoenix about to respawn. No, the rest of everyone is still going. Vivian is going to get gobbled up here. Incon gets credit, but Chapo still to the sky looking for Ghost, who doesn't have that Aegis, does have the beads, but beads don't save you from that 3 ability of Kuang. Doesn't hit, but it doesn't matter. Chapo finds another. 3 dead. Plazma and Uzzy the only ones alive. Mid-Phoenix respawned. Left Phoenix respawned. Right side, yeah, you got to worry about those fire minions, but T-Money alone can stop that siege. Now, mid-tier 2 falls. Can AI keep going? Uzzy's got to be careful here, Taco.
They can definitely keep going. Uzzy's already been forced out of his purification beads, not having that available. Sure, Chapo doesn't have his execute online, but the burst damage is still incredibly strong from AI. Whalrus is healthy enough to where he can try and tank this up, but he does need to be very cognizant of where Plazma is positioning and whether or not he's going to look to blink in and engage that Humbat's ultimate.
Uzzy uses the ultimate, forces everyone back for the moment. Chapo in, but here comes that Fear No Evil. Chapo blinks out of it at the right time, and so it doesn't really do anything for a Mighty Storm. Incon dashing forward, but the rest of AI backing up. They got what they came for. That's a Mighty Storm Phoenix in the grave. T-Money has returned. He's back from defending his own Titan room, and the Fire Giant's available, but everyone from a Mighty Storm is about to respawn. Ghost only has about 12 seconds left. Portal Demon will get finished off by AI. Just a matter of if they want to come through and try and defend this, because they're Titan almost half HP just from those fire waves that have been coming in.
They certainly need to push out those waves still for AI. They should try and push out to make sure that their minions are the ones forcing up those lanes instead of the other way around. Picking out that Portal Demon, though, is pretty big because it makes it so that a Mighty Storm won't start up the Fire Giant because they're wary of whether or not AI are just going to come charging through that portal.
53 minutes. Nearing 54 as we hit the halfway part of the 53rd minute. Incon trying to make sure that Fire Giant isn't going to be pulled quickly by a Mighty Storm, but it's a Mighty Storm with the ward coverage, both frontliners in the front.
It's the hesitation factor. It really is just pure hesitation from a Mighty Storm. That Phoenix was so close to falling, but they were just so scared to try and push anywhere near the tower line for it because they just didn't want to take a little bit of poke. But you might as well just knock it out in that circumstance. Just make things even more difficult for AI to try and hold off these defenses. But again, that's just kind of one of those things where none of these players have really invoked enough experience yet to really utilize that knowledge.
Right side Phoenix going to be respawning shortly for AI, but still multiple fire waves pushing down that right side. That even once your Phoenix respawns, you have to push out those remaining fire waves because otherwise they will reclaim that dead Phoenix. The Phoenix respawns, meaning that Titan can start to regen, and knowing that there could be a defense on that right Phoenix, a Mighty Storm pulls the Fire Giant. Whalrus is already transformed. He's looking for the engagement, trying to make the most of this transformation, but I don't think that one route onto Vivian is exactly what Whalrus was looking for.
What they're really looking for is trying to figure out where Chapo is on the map. That seems to be the biggest culprit for why we're seeing Ghost and Wolp preemptively use their relics, because they're expecting more damage to happen. As soon as they get hit by one ability, it's just an immediate Aegis or a Beads. And the same could be said for XenoTronics, to be fair. He's also been burning out his actives pretty frequently, and it's just because when you approach this late game stage, one ability typically means you're the target.
3K pots for both hunters. That's a lot of power. And Xeno uses his and starts to push forward. Now it's AI with the positional advantage in this Fire Giant pit. Xeno going to bring it down to about 2/3 HP. There comes the taunt from Incon. Whalrus blinks forward. Big damage onto him immediately. He's going to have to retreat for the moment. Uzzy in the back line trying to keep everyone else busy. Chapo lurking on the left. Shows up to fire off that Dragon Call and immediately starts to retreat. Ghost trying to close the gap. He does have that increased movement speed, but here comes the blink from Plazma. Doesn't get what he wanted, only the relic from XenoTronics. Not so bad for him. There's the blink forward, and Chapo races Wolp right off the bat. Look for the execute, can't quite find it. Ghost, 1 HP, still trying to find it. Uzzy will find Chapo though, and Ghost still somehow gets away for the moment. Incon with the reach is gonna get him and knock down Ghost. Now it's AI pushing forward. Uzzy forced to jump away. Vivian trying to escape himself, but look at AI. They've already got the 2 damage dealers dead. Incon should have that taunt up soon, and the Titan is exposed, but Taco, there's still 2 towers on each of the side lanes. There's still 2 Phoenixes. That Titan is so tanky, and AI don't feel like they can end.
They can't end. I don't believe that they could have ended knowing that Plazma, Uzzy, and Vivian were still available to try and hold off in their own Titan room. If anything, they were looking to maybe re-siege that mid lane Phoenix that they'd already collected, but having their Phoenixes already back up and just picking up the Fire Giant for the 4 members on their team that aren't dead is still a huge win. It's really, that Blink ult from Plazma was probably the most off one I've seen him have this game. It
wasn't what they were looking for, and then Chapo blinked forward, and Wolp and Ghost are grouped, and they both get hit by a 2-3 combination, and both below 20% HP in the blink of an eye. That's where it all starts going AI's way. XenoTronics uses the beads to make sure he doesn't get knocked up from Uzzy's leap. The mid Phoenix still standing for the moment. Snipe off the mark there from Team Money. Xeno does finally finish off that Phoenix, but he's low on HP and mana. Whalrus blows everyone away with that ult, and AI knocked down a Phoenix once again. So now it's their Titan that's full HP, their Phoenixes that are healthy. Mighty Storm, the one on the back foot now.
And that's kind of just what happens if you go this late against a team comp like that AI has. I mean, you have the Athena that's just completely spam ulting as much as possible. Incon has utilized his ult at like every given opportunity.
His ults have been on point. Now he's got a defensive 3K pot. Whalrus has a defensive 3K pot. Ghost says, I don't need those offensive 3K pots. Give me some defense, because that's how that fight got lost for a Mighty Storm last time, was Chapo making the play. We're nearing an hour long in this one, 58 minutes. It's been plenty of action thus far. AI has almost lost a couple times. A Mighty Storm almost lost off that last team fight, but the lack of knocked down towers is what dissuaded AI more than anything else. And they realize that, and it's time to take those off the map. The goal at this point, no one cares about what these towers are worth.
Shoutouts to dual lane T1 tower surviving to almost 59 minutes in a game, though.
That's how.
What a trooper.
There it is. Tier 2 tower finally falls in the solo lane. Tier 1 was still standing up until this point, as we're a minute away from that hour mark. AI gonna pick up this Portal Demon. Could back and buy. Don't know what they could want to buy right now. Maybe an extra power potion or 2. 3K pot possibly. If Chapo can get a 3K pot here, I mean, that could turn from an almost one-shot to a legitimate one-shot on those squishies.
You can't count out the raw. I counted out raw damage not too long ago, and I ended up getting montage into a Smite Reddit clip because of it. Raw damage is absolutely insane the longer that a game goes.
He's been full build for quite some time. He's got plenty of power there. I like the Chronos pendant as well, just making sure you get as many heals off as you can, as many beams off, and if it makes a difference between getting an ultimate off in 5 seconds earlier, that can make all the difference, as you mentioned. No tower siege on the left. Instead, it's going right for the Phoenixes on the right. Chapo sitting in between the 2 Phoenixes, but there is a ward there for a Mighty Storm, as well as a minion wave that's going to sell out that Kuang's positioning. XenoTronics has his relics. Everyone has every relic. Everyone has every ultimate. Just a matter of who's going to be the one to make a play. When you get into the hour mark, which we just now hit, someone's got to make a play. It's just a matter of who it's going to be. Xeno gets poked out a little bit and disarmed by Uzzy with the heals there from Team Money. Phoenix down below half HP because of the Astral Arrows. Chapo, I like what Ghost is doing, putting that call to your mark on the Chapo to make sure he knows that everyone knows where he is. Right side Phoenix does fall. A Mighty Storm, no engage there to try and stop that Phoenix push. Do you like that decision?
I feel as though a Mighty Storm were just concerned about the commit, and now it's actually going to be Incon trying to make something happen. Team Money launching the raw snipe yet again, but nobody to hit with.
It hit Vivian, but that's a level 20 Guardian who's full build, so it's going to be difficult to get that execute going onto him. But again, he's got it's already halfway back to ready to go. I mean, that between
easily,
between the CDR from Chronos Pendant and the Spear of Desolation, you're sitting at 30%. That Chronos Pendant passive takes you to 40%. That ultimate is already back up. That's insane. That must be it's a less than 30-second cooldown, no doubt about that. Left side, Phoenix still standing. The only one still standing for a Mighty Storm is AI looking for the tower here, trying to make sure that Titan is as squishy as possible, but Fire Giant has fallen off of the members of AI, and so they decide that they're just going to back up and reset. No, they're going to back up, heal, reset with that, and they want to keep going.
A Mighty Storm are ready to defend this T2 tower, though, knowing that AI don't have the Fire Giant buff available, but they've got to keep an eye on their Titan. Wolp had to actually go to the mid lane to push out the fire waves that were going to be coming in from that lane.
I like that idea. As soon as they see Wolp in the mid lane, they know that the Chronos isn't going to be there. Get the tier 2. Make sure you have every objective that you can off the map. T-Money threw out the snipe again onto Uzzy, but wasn't going to be enough to kill even if it had connected. And again, that cooldown's so low, not too impactful at this stage. Fire Giant, again, has respawned, but so is the middle Phoenix here for a Mighty Storm. So only the right side has Fire Minions to worry about, and that's the easiest to defend when walking on your way towards the Fire Giant. Xeno gets knocked up by FG, but not a ton of damage onto him. Plus, T-Money has that heal, so not going to be too big of a deal. A Mighty Storm is here to defend. Again, still, both relics on for every player on every team is up and ready to go. Ultimates up and ready to go. And again, AI, the ones to pull the objective. Chapo sitting in the exact same spot that he did last time. Don't think we'll see Wolp and Ghost group on the bottom left side of the mid-harpies there. Plazma gets taunted in. T-Money throws out the snipe, but it's not going to hit because Plazma used the purification bead. Xeno still trying to throw out autos as Whalrus gets poked down a little bit by Uzzy and squad, but not enough to find a kill quite yet. Poke doesn't really matter against AI's composition because they have that raw sustain. Poke onto Vivian, it will be impactful from XenoTronics.
Even with the anti-heal procs from the Brawler's beat sticks, it doesn't make too much of an impact because eventually, after a few seconds, it's going to wear off, and then these guys are going to be able to come back in. And speaking of come back in, it's going to be Plazma blinking, trying to connect with T-Money, but Incon's on the mark. T-Money uses Aegis, but Chapo's on the backside, hanging out with Vivian.
But that silence again, Plazma gets the crit, and Elchapo falls down to the hand of the enemy jungler. A Mighty Storm, and now pushing forward. Wolp is going to find T-Money. We're past 63 minutes. Wolp's going to find Xeno. A Mighty Storm in one of the longest games in SPL history. Not SPL, but Relegations. SPL included. It doesn't matter. We've only had a couple games go longer than this one. Looks like it could be over. A triple kill for Wolp, who ends the dreams of AI. It took over an hour, 63 minutes, close to 64. But a Mighty Storm earns what could be one of the hardest fought victories in a long, long time. 28-18, AI falls.
That was an insane last team fight. That's just the go big or go home kind of aspect, and in this circumstance, it was the latter for AI.
I told you it might be a long one. Through two, it's been a long one. This one, like I mentioned, I believe only 2 games have ever gone longer in competitive play history for Smite. It just back and forth the entire time. A Mighty Storm gets all 3 Phoenixes down, but can't quite close it out for a little bit to go. Eventually, they do find it. What happened in that last team fight?
It was really just Chapo being unable to connect. A really strong Ganesh silence ultimately led to his team being too spread out. They were really relying on Chapo finding that damage, getting out, pushing a Mighty Storm into a 4v5 scenario, and when that doesn't connect and you lose that much burst damage from your Kuang, everybody else was kind of just out of position. T-Money and Incon had already expended their ultimates and their actives, so they were kind of just left to die pretty much. And
no one was checking Wolp in that last team fight either, and he really took advantage of that. The first team fight that he really went off, because in the early game team fights, it was all Ghost. He was the one making the impact in the early game. His Skadi was absolutely insane, Taco. I mean, pumping out the damage, staying safe too. He didn't die until what, 30+ minutes in?
It took him it took AI quite some time to finally find his head, but they were able to secure that kill eventually. Didn't end up making a difference, however, considering that Ghost's gameplay on Skadi, indeed, it was just strong overall. Skadi's always been a strong pick, but this kind of just goes to show what a very talented player can do with her.
Ghost really killing it so far. So a Mighty Storm start off the day the way they would like. Might have taken a little bit longer, but they got there, and that's really what matters. Both AI and Flashpoint, the 2 teams that are trying to defend their relegation spots in the SPL, take the early losses here, Taco. So could be a couple new faces in the SPL soon enough. This, let's take a look at the standings. Like I mentioned, Flashpoint and AI, they're going to be at the bottom right there. Gatekeepers and Mighty Storm, the 2 Challenger Cup teams, rising on up.
And it's going to be interesting as well because I believe it's actually going to be Gatekeepers facing off again in the next game. So it'll be really interesting to see whether or not they can keep their streak alive.
Yeah, I mean, so the 2 teams have played each other that were across, you know, SPL to Challenger Cup and vice versa. Now we're going to see pretty soon here, I believe, the Challenger Cup teams face off against one another and the SPL teams face off against one another. Those 2 games, incredibly impactful when the first 2 have gone the way they have. You've probably been sitting there for a while. Go get a drink, hit the bathroom, because who knows how long this next game's going to be.